Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to episode 166 of Spire Curious. My name is Casey Pine, and I am with Mike Evans. Mike,
Hi,
what are you
everyone.
going to talk about today?
Today I'm going to talk about the infamous, you've seen it on Facebook, the infamous Ulverston Lighthouse Hotel brawl and what happened in court this week in relation to it.
And I will be talking about how to get someone's IP and how to look it up, and also some deep web information.
Fantastic. And I am going to be reviewing the icare tender that's coming out very soon. So what you have to do to get prepared for that.
And I will also be talking a little bit about information slippage, depending on how much time we have today. But we have a jam-packed show, and I'm very excited.
So you should be, Casey. But the big news I left out last week on the death of Her Majesty the Queen in relation to what happens in court, that sort of thing, was the Queen's Counsel. And why is that relevant? Well, now the Queen's Counsels, QCs, are now KCs. So our KC is by default Casey Pine, or Pine, whichever way you want to look at it. So that's an interesting thing that just came out last week, and Casey's gone and got herself a very important title, only by default. Okay, AIB down in New South Wales are looking for factual investigators. Get in touch with them. They're a great firm down at AIB, and they do workers' compensation investigation, and they do it very well. If you want a job paying $84,000 a year, you don't have to leave home. You do it from your desktop. With a really good team, Vendor Management have job opportunities for you in New South Wales. You'll start next week. If you're a licensed investigator, get in touch with Vendor Management. You'll never have to leave home. So what a fantastic opportunity. We've had a couple of their people come on our show that when they were students, and they're working very hard, earning a great income at Vendor Management now. So if you're looking for a job as a licensed private investigator, get on our Facebook jobs page. And g'day, Vision Protective Services. Great to see you. Wonderful people over at Vision. So get on our Facebook. G'day, DJ. G'day, Evan. How you going, mate? Great to see you. Hope you're well. Investigator, Corporate and Government Investigator Jobs Program. We're after a travel insurance and disputes complaints assistant at OneCover. Great fun doing travel insurance. You get a lot of fraud. People go on holidays and buy fake receipts for hospitals and stuff like that and come back and try and cash it in on their insurance. Betfair are looking for a fraud and integrity officer. You'll need a certificate for in government investigations for that one as a minimum. And Probe down in Victoria, one of the classic investigation agencies in Australia, are looking for circumstance investigators, which we call factual investigators in the rest of the world, but in Victoria they're called circumstance investigators, just like a mall is a mall in Victoria. They have different words for it and different ways of saying it. So Suncorp Metway have a great opportunity for an investigations officer down there, and the RACQ in Queensland are looking for a fraud intelligence team manager, and the great people down at Cyber Solutions in Georgetown in Tasmania are looking for investigators down there. I was doing surveillance in Georgetown in Tasmania, and my wife rang me up one Saturday and she said, "Have you seen the news?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Princess Di's just been in a motor vehicle accident." I'll never forget my surveillance job in Georgetown at that time. Plus, I've done some great investigations at the medium density fiberboard factory at Georgetown. Great place in Tassie. Get in touch with Cyber Solutions if you're looking for work. Dwayne and the team down there will listen to you. G'day, Jamie. How you going, mate? Good to see you. And this is a brilliant opportunity for a corporate investigation role as a fraud lead with Woolworths Group in their rewards program. They want a hitchhiker surveillance officer down at Melbourne Airport. So you'll be able to conduct surveillance on hitchhikers, such as foot rot, fleas, anything that's sort of can come in on animals or come in on plants, that sort of thing, or in sausages or salamis, that sort of thing. That's the surveillance officer they're looking for there. Great opportunity down at Melbourne Airport. Wesfarmers are looking for case officers for workers' compensation, and Vendor management again, there they are. Get in touch with vendor management people. $84,000 a year to work from home. 25 years ago, I wasn't earning that, and I drive all around the country. What a great opportunity. It's really evolved into something absolutely fantastic with the technology we have today. Riding around on my horse and cart. All right, so the really important one this week is down in Tasmania, the Lighthouse Hotel brawl, which you've seen on Facebook. Everybody in Australia has seen the Ulverston Lighthouse Hotel brawl on Facebook. You have. You can't have missed it, right? And there's a reference in here that it says, the guy said in court, like everybody else in Australia, that was where I saw it, and he's the person that's in court over it. So he was knocked out. He claims he was king hit. He was being a smart aleck, and he called a bloke really tall, and the bloke hit him. And we're going to watch all that in the video. Why is it important? Am I doing this to say this is what I want to show you? No, I'm doing this to show you this is what you're going to do as a licensed private investigator. Last time I did it was between the brawl between the builders, labourers, and the painters and decorators. That was a bit one-sided, painters and decorators against the builders, labourers, but you've got to watch the video, then you've got to go and interview the people involved. So here we go. Let's have a look at the Ulverston Lighthouse Hotel brawl and what went on. Face court this week over the Lighthouse Hotel brawl. Don't watch it on the news. Google it on Facebook, search Lighthouse Hotel brawl and see all about it there clearly. Okay, so that's what happened. Now, in court this week, Joshua and Aaron got themselves into all sorts of strife over that, and it's continuing on. The outcome will be next week. They were charged with a fray. There was lots of witnesses there, as you saw, and people taking video of it. So we've got CCT footage, which is what we get as licensed private investigators. Other witnesses there, we can contact them about what they got on their phone in relation to that. So there's all sorts of things happening here. We've got a criminal investigation with the police going on about it that's taken them to court. Now, anyone injured or suffering as a result of it will then sue the Lighthouse Hotel. Yeah, there's no security, mate, in Ulverston. And therefore, it's not going to happen. Look, you know when you walk in, it hasn't been done up in the last 125 years. It's the bloodstains on the wall that sort of give you a warning that you're in the wrong place, and there's not a lady in there, none, in any of those places. So you sort of get the idea that you're going to be in the wrong place at the wrong time when you go there in Ulverston. So what will happen if someone's been injured as a result of that, they can't work, then they will make a civil investigation claim against the hotel for, like what Jamie just said, no security. All right, they had a duty of care to that patron that wouldn't get injured by being hit on the head with a 8-ball cue or an 8-ball, as we saw Aaron throwing around there. So that's in court. They've been charged with the fray. They're all embarrassed about it now because they're not drunk anymore. They're sobered up, and that will continue into next week, and we'll let you know the outcome as it comes. But I know you've watched it on Facebook. Everybody else has. It's certainly been a viral video that's been going around for the last 12 months. We, excuse me. Covered that. Just checking what I've missed. Quantum Corp are looking for investigators in New South Wales. So, in Tasmania there, but they're also looking for them in New South Wales as well. So get in touch with Quantum Corp. And the Massel Group are looking for a factual investigator down in Melbourne, or circumstance investigator, as I just said. And Clarity Investigations are looking at factual investigators that you need no experience. If you've got a license, get in touch with the team at Clarity and they'll interview you. Casey, what have you got for us today?
Yeah, I have something that I've had a little bit of a play with because I did a couple of days training this week with the team at OSINT Combine, who had their annual OSINT event, which was amazing. As usual, the team delivered really, really well. So Chris Poulter over at OSINT Combine, as usual, brought along some fantastic speakers and did some fantastic presentations on all things OSINT. And this is one of the things that I learned about that I'd never heard of before. So this is Grabify. And sorry, I'll just grab, so grabify.link is the URL address. And this is how you can grab other people's IP addresses. So what I've done is that I've gone into Grabify. I just put in it says enter a valid URL or tracking code. I just put in the Australian Security Academy.edu.au, as you can see here. And then it generates you a link. And you can see the access link here, Grabify link, track. And I also created a new URL as well, gaming at my best, just to play around with it and have a look. And if you're on the Facebook page for the Australian Security Academy, you'll see I've put the link in there. And if you want to click it, just keep in mind it's going to grab your IP address and I'll be able to see that. But I just found it really fascinating. So I sent it to Mike and got him to click it. And I also clicked it myself to see what information it brought up. So it brings up our ISP, so our internet service provider. So Mike uses Starlink from SpaceX, which is true. And I'm on Aussie Broadband, which is also true. And Mike was using a VPN. So it says that he's in Sydney. And it has his IP address there, which I've blanked out. I've blanked out mine as well, because I actually wasn't using a VPN at the time. So Brisbane, Australia, that's quite true. So when you do capture an IP address from someone, you don't know how correct they are. It can be really hit and miss with the information that you get. But I found something really quite strange and interesting. I'm not sure how this happened, but Foxtel are either spying on Mike or I, because they have somehow clicked the link as well. And it says there that Foxtel Australia Greenbank had clicked the link, and I grabbed that IP address and I just wanted to see what kind of information I would get from that IP address. So I went to, what is the website called? ipinfo.io. I put in that IP address, and there it is, Foxtel Management Proprietary Limited. And it also brings up in that information, it brings up an address. Sorry, it's quite little for me on the screen, but it says, there it is, Level 2, Southport, Queensland, 12 to 14 Marine Parade. So that gave us a lot of information. And you can easily Google that. And it's just one of those things that, of course, is a pivot point. Now, why would you want to grab someone's IP? So usually if you're doing an investigation on scammers and things like that, usually scammers if they're successful, are generally they've done this a number of times and they usually use a VPN, and it's really hard to grab an IP off them that would actually mean anything. But as we all know, not all criminals are particularly sophisticated and they make mistakes. So in my opinion, I think it is always worth a try. I always give it a try. I've never used Grabify before. The service that I used to use, last time I checked it, it was down. So it's good to have a new one. So I really liked that. So I'll just go back to, that is Grabify IP Logger. So I'm just gonna comment here. Grabify is great. I use it often. Scam baiters use it also. Oh, I have to bring it up. There we go. Yes, thank you, Jamie. So it's a fantastic way just to see if they have made a mistake. And that's one of the things that they spoke about a lot during the conference this week is information slippage. So what you're looking for as an online investigator when it comes to digital footprints is information slippage, where someone has mucked up, someone's forgotten to turn on their IP address. Sometimes they might have used a Gmail account where it says kz.pine@gmail.com and it's got my whole name in it. Those mistakes happen, believe it or not. And sometimes we also spoke about the dark web and how information slippage, information that you find on the dark web can make its way to the surface web. So they might use the same username that they use on the dark web as their Facebook username or their Instagram username. So that information slippage happens, and it's our job to find it, to get the pivot points to find the person or information that we're looking for. So with that, I also wanted just to talk a little bit about the dark web, just because a lot of things are kind of heading that way. I spent a lot of time listening to people talk about the way that people are using the internet, the way criminals are using the internet, the way bad actors are using the internet, and nation state actors. And so it's really important as investigators to know what the dark web is. So this is just a really simple, just get rid of Jamie's comment for a second, go back. So there's 3 different types of web that you've probably heard about all of them. You've got your surface web, which is all your open source intelligence, right? So none of it's behind a paywall. It's all indexed. It's your surface web. So if you Google it, it's going to come up. If you put it into Bing, it's going to come up. It's easily accessible. It's not behind a wall that you have to get past. And then you've got your deep web, which is about 90% of the internet. So that is your information behind a password or a paywall. So you've got legal documents, scientific reports, competitor websites, government resources. Your Facebook account is locked down, I assume, and it's in the deep web because not everybody can access it. So it's not your surface web stuff. So yes, your social media. And then you've got the dark web. So your dark web is the place where you can't get through a usual browser. You have to use like your Tor browser, or I've forgotten the names of the other ones, but I use Tor. You've got down there, you've got illegal information, you've got political protests and private communications. And a lot of people in countries that have suppressed internet, so they're not allowed to use Facebook or they're not allowed to have open communications, they use that kind of thing. So if you have an oppressive government, those types of people who are trying to get information out to the rest of the world or just trying to communicate to their friends and family privately, they use the Tor browsers. So it's not all doom and gloom in the dark web, although they did say during the conference that about 75% of the dark web is child exploitation material, which is horrifying to hear. But if you haven't accessed before, it's really, really interesting. I will definitely maybe I'll do a bit of bit more of a talk about how to access the dark web next week. So that will be really good for next week's show, I believe. But just something to know about. I think this is really important if you've ever done a seminar. I'm sure you've seen this iceberg before. It's used to death. They actually refuse to use it during our conference this week because, as they said, it's used to death. But I think it's a fantastic resource for those who have never seen or heard of the different depths of the web before. So that is the different types of web. And I'll give you a bit of a rundown next week on how to access it.
Fantastic, Casey. So you're adding that presentation to your Google Docs offer that you made last week?
Yes.
All right, fantastic, people. So if you didn't see it last week, Casey's, so you don't have to go through, if you've got a job and you're not interested in that and you're not worried about what the news is and you only want to know what Casey said in OSINT, she's got a Google Doc that goes through every one of her 2-minute or 10-minute or 7-minute or 20-minute presentations here on Spy Curious, and it has direct links to it and it updates automatically. So get in touch with Casey. I think I do have a contact here somewhere. Here it is. You can get in touch with Casey as it's scrolling past right there, right now, and she'll send you that document and that will update you on her OSINT presentations. Now, if you go and you look at them and you actually apply them, most of them are practically usable presentations. You'll pay $5,000 for courses in that sort of stuff. And Casey's giving it to you for free. Just don't press on any links. It'll be fine.
Okay, let's have a look and see if anyone has clicked it. Let's have a look. Has anybody clicked it? Whoa, we've had a couple of people.
All right. Okay.
And I know who one of them is.
Yeah, got some clickers there today. So other news, people, here's some well, news down in Victoria. There was another accident, Seymour, with a forklift. As an investigator, probably 10% of your investigations in workers' compensation are going to be forklift accidents. People hit by moving objects or falling off forklifts or being run over by forklifts. Get used to it. And that's just something that's come up in the news. It's not really newsworthy, but it tells all our investigators what they're going to be doing, because we get a lot of people watching this to research what they're going to do for the future. Wayne Carey, as we spoke about last week, he's been axed from Triple M footy over his medication powder that he ground down and put in a white bag to soothe his bad back or whatever. Now, we're getting down to brass tacks now. Here we go. icare have launched their open market tender for rehabilitation, medico-legal and investigation services in New South Wales. Well, they're talking about it. It's not up on the New South Wales Tenders website yet, but they would still be fine-tuning it. When they do this, this is a massive operation, and particularly when you've got 1, 2, 3 different types of services there for service providers. So it has to be absolutely right, but it has to be attractive. In Victoria, WorkSafe do tenders down there that are so incredibly hard, no one will tender for them. Here in New South Wales, I understand that, so they make it so people actually apply and do it. And it can be practical and doable. It's not one-sided. So New South Wales are preparing that. In a few weeks, it'll be up on their website, and your investigation agency will be able to bid in a tender for inclusion on the investigative services panel. So what's important about this? This is what's important about it. You've got to change your thinking if you're going to get in the big league and play with the big MJMs, the bigger firms out there. You've got to change your thinking about how you operate. So you've got to think of yourself as a solution-focused investigation management professionals group. You've got to present people from the far south of New South Wales all the way up to Tweed Heads, who are licensed private investigators who can do workers' compensation. They must be licensed. That's really important. Loss adjuster won't cut it. quote me on that. They must be licensed, and you must be able to provide a copy of that license in your tender for every person you put in that tender and propose for it. So you're going to need people in far western New South Wales, in northern New South Wales, in Sydney, Parramatta, right down to Bega. So that's really important. Think of yourself as a solution to reliable investigation management. You'll have to establish a wide team of dedicated people who are all on your side. And you are going to have to list those people. So you're going to have to find individual operators all around the state to list in your tender. And to do that, it's just a matter of getting in touch with me, and we'll put an ad up for you. Anyone wants to be included in the Bill Smith Investigations group, get in touch with Bill here. So that's easy to do now because we've got the technology to be able to do it. So keep in mind, this is something you're going to have to win if you want your organisation to be on the panel for investigations. And it's always done by tender. That's how they do it. Have you missed something, or did I go too fast with the jobs, or did Casey go too fast with the deep web iceberg? Jump on our YouTube channel and you can watch the replay of this program, and you can stop it at the point where the guy picks up the chair in the Lighthouse Hotel in OSINT and look at that and see what happens there. All right, so you can watch the replay tomorrow. You can watch the replay tonight. You can watch the replay next Monday to see that job, or to see how to think about tenders, or to see how to find someone's IP address. So keep all that in mind. That's really important. You can watch the replay and see it again. We have a lot of people that like to watch this program, but they watch the replay rather than watch it live because they're at work at 2 o'clock on Friday afternoon. And I understand that. It's the busiest time of the week for investigation agencies because they're looking for investigators to do those jobs next week that's come in all through this week. So that's how that works. So really exciting that tender's out. They have these same tenders in Tasmania for the Motor Accidents Insurance Board. They have it in South Australia for WorkSafe South Australia, in Western Australia for WorkSafe over there. It's the same method of ensuring that they get that business right and people are appointed to the panel. Don't forget the Australian Private Investigator Corporate and Government Investigations page to see those jobs. You have to ask 2 questions. 1, are you an Australian? 2, are you interested in an investigation job? If you say yes to both those, I will automatically include you with all those jobs. They're all there. There's some that aren't on Seek. There are some there that aren't on other websites. For example, we were contacted this week by vendor management and saying, look, we need 2 people in New South Wales to start in 2 weeks' time. So if you get in touch with vendor management and you say, look, here's my license, I'd like to talk to you, I think Asher at vendor management is going to be really excited to hear from you. So don't let that opportunity pass by. The beginning wage, $84,000 a year, that's at the start. And as you get more confident and you do more work in it, well, it will go up retrospectively from there. Coming out very soon is Andy Chambers' book, Problem Solved, Stories from the Blind Private Eye, so something to look out for. It's been delayed a little bit in publishing. That's not unusual. It's only a couple of weeks. We're not holding our breath, but we've ordered it, haven't we, Casey?
Yep, just ordered it. The new release date where I ordered it was the 5th of October. So I've pre-ordered it and I'm really looking forward to it. So.
And Andy promised me, he mentioned the Australian Security Academy in that book. I will be sending it to my defamation lawyers as soon as I get hold of it. Good on you, Andy. It's great you had that book, mate. I can't wait to see it. It'll be a classic, and I'm sure it's going to be a lot of laughs. There's Andy standing next to his best mate, and always good to hear from Andy whenever I hear from him. People, that's our program for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. There's been a lot of information in there, all about the work of a licensed private investigator, government investigator, or corporate investigator. An example of the corporate investigator was the Woolworths fraud job. So don't forget that job with Dwayne down at Georgetown. Really good opportunity there. We're going out in our usual way. That's not our usual way. This way.
답장 종료. 전원 복귀할 것.
Hang on, I got a comment there, Casey. I'm trying to show it. Thanks, Evan. Good to see you, mate. I hope things are great down in South Australia. Thanks for watching and thanks for talking to us before. You really hyped us right up by saying hi before we started, mate. I really appreciate your support. Thanks, people. See you next week. And Casey, we'll be talking about, what did you promise, Casey?
How to access the dark web.
Whoa, look out. Okay. You'll be able to find more people who are into child abuse on there if you're looking for them. So that might help your investigation. Thanks for watching, people. See you next week.